Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good moaning to the coffee moaners. Put your hand up if you're a coffee moaner. Yay!
Not if you're driving and listening on podcast.
Yes, keep your hands on the wheel. Podcasters, they're not podcasters, we're podcasters, aren't we? Are they podcastees?
To those listening to podcasts.
Yeah,
podcast listeners.
I'm going to call you podcastee. Podcasty.
Yeah, coffee moaners. They're still coffee moaners though, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are.
They're just...
So, good morning, everybody. I was just over on Instagram doing a live there, chatting about our journey home yesterday from Lisbon. We've been in Lisbon. And for the first time in a long time, we didn't go with one of the true budget airlines because, to be quite frank, we are sick of always having 3, 4, 5 hour delays on the way home. So paid a little bit more, went with Portugal Airways. Everything was so delicious. The ease and breeze of our journey there and back, just heaven. Only to be 10 minutes from Gatwick and to have an announcement saying, unfortunately, this has nothing to do with TAP Airways, but we can't land in Gatwick due to potholes on the tarmac.
Yeah, potholes.
So just before that, we'd gone through the most horrendous turbulence. So it was just really like nerve-wracking, potholes. So he said, we're going to have to take you to Heathrow. So then we go to Heathrow. We have to circle round. Mark kept saying, oh my God, I've seen that 3 times now. Circling around, turbulence.
I saw Kaz doing star jumps 3 times on the beach.
Doing star jumps.
Of Brighton.
Then we land at Heathrow. Guess what? Heathrow wouldn't let us get off the bloody plane, right? Oh, I felt so sorry for this woman. She was 6 months pregnant. She was having a panic attack. Her fella was like, you have to let her get off this plane because it was, you know that thing when one thing after another is happening? I said to Mark, actually, I just feel like we should get off, but they wouldn't let anyone else get off. So, guess what? We had a delay of over 3 hours in the end.
I didn't tot it up.
But in London.
We sat on the tarmac.
Freezing
at
cold.
Heathrow for about 2.5 hours, 2 hours.
Freezing cold because we had to have the door open, no food.
I've never done a short haul flight from Heathrow to Gatwick before. That was quite something. It took quite a surprising amount of time, actually.
It took ages. I felt so sorry. I mean, we were there as a couple. We were going, oh my God, kids, we were starving, we were freezing, but the people with kids, oh my God.
Can I just say, she's a right good in this one. She's a good one. Because there was a mum who had a very, very small child, probably about 2 years old or something like that. Year and a half, toddler. Just toddling, not walking enough to walk. She'd done the journey. She had a trunkie, which used to drag kids along, but the baby was too young to be dragged along in a trunkie. It was so heavy.
Baby was asleep.
She'd been waiting for so long. The baby had actually been incredibly good. There was another kid on the plane that wasn't good. And this one, bless her, gets straight off the plane and carries her incredibly heavy trunkie. I kept offering, but she refused. Heavy trunkie all the way through to passport control. What a sweetheart.
Oh, my God, it's just a human being.
But it's just like, you don't see that often.
But what made me so angry was she couldn't have the buggy as she got off the plane. She was on her own, year and a half old baby, big trunkie.
Like a McLaren or something. Yeah.
But she said to me, in Portugal and everywhere else, you're allowed to take the buggy as you get off the plane.
Everyone's much more chilled. Can I just say everyone's much more chilled everywhere else?
You know when you get off and they've parked miles away, walking.
High gainer rows.
People with kids fast asleep. Why? I want to start a campaign about this. Can you not be given the buggy at the gate, at the exit of the plane?
Yeah, at the plane.
We used to have this with our little ones. That's what I said to us. I still remember that feeling.
It's been a long time since I've heard in extreme close-up the sound of a child vomiting uncontrollably.
Oh, it was so fun. No, but tell them what. So I said to Mark, I was looking at the sick bags and I said,
isn't that weird?
God, nobody's sick anymore on planes. I haven't heard anyone sick for years.
She just said that.
Because I said, now I'm feeling really embarrassed and I worry about my mum because my entire childhood, we would often do these flights to Jordan, where my dad's from, 6-7 hours, and I would be doing this all the way, dry heaving, throwing up, every sick bag on the... I said, oh, you just don't hear it anymore, do you? Cut to.
No. Hang on. It's better than that. It's better than that because bless her, Maddie used to make the most. Used to often get so excited in a pool when we were on holiday, and she'd make the most because she'd do an enormous belch that was like the arrival of Beelzebub.
She's going to love you for that.
And then you would have to. But you always had time. There was always time when there was that where you could dive in, get her. Well, you were usually in with her because she was a toddler. Put her in a palm tree pot, and she'd vomit in it. Anyway. This sound, I've forgotten this sound. It wasn't a normal sound. It was the sound like this.
Too many people are horrified by sleep.
But
how bizarre is that? After me 2 hours before saying, as a grown-up, I've never heard anyone doing that. And then it was right behind
and it didn't stop.
But it was the turbulence, the poor child. And it was classic because it was as once we'd landed in Heathrow that it happened.
Hang on a minute, the turbulence.
Oh my God! I really thought we were going down yesterday.
It was the only other time. It was obviously more dramatic than what we were in yesterday. But the only other time it was just touching the edge of when we flew through Hurricane Floyd. It was
scary.
I was like,
but I had Jane Moore's voice in my head because she's so brilliant. Jane always gives me stats. Because I'm not very good with statistics, because I'm no good with numbers.
Didn't even say it with statistics.
And she said there has never, ever been an airplane crash due to turbulence.
No, because do you know why?
No.
Because generally the ones that have crashed never come back and tell you that it was turbulent before.
No, the black box would tell us.
Well, no, they were saying, oh, it's turbulent. The black box just goes, yes, turbulence is an assumption.
Don't tell me that, because it's
before
where I make
any
myself
kind of
feel
crash.
better. But some of the kids on the plane, they were so sweet. You could see parents were scared, but all the kids thought it was like a fun fair.
2.5 hours.
They were screaming with joy as the plane was bouncing up.
But anyway, I've never seen so many flight attendants. Did you notice also it was really interesting the way in which, and going back to this idea, so I've got 1,000,001 fractured thoughts all skidding through my slightly ADHD head.
Slightly.
One of the things that is utterly noticeable is we are so fucking tight-arsed and anal and stressed and yet still useless. So we can't land planes on our fucking tarmac because of fucking potholes. Everyone else is very sort of chilled and cool and measured about stuff. But the Portuguese stewards, all the way through it, they kept saying their proviso to everything as children were being sick and flights were being cancelled and we were flying out into the ocean for the 86th time. They're going, none of this is TAP's fault.
Oh, yeah.
Can we just say this is all because of the Brits?
This is not TAP Airlines.
This is Gatwick's fault.
So it was quite a thing. But as I said, we filmed a lovely vlog for you guys, and keep your eye open for that.
Faith Goodman says, same or even worse, re the push chairs with wheelchairs. Talk to Sophie Morgan about wheelchair users on planes.
I mean, I know I have. I know well. I think she's on the show tomorrow. She's on
and your mum and dad often need wheelchairs and stuff like that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, cruel. It was cruel, I felt yesterday.
So Minky Moo, we were shooting a Couple Does Lisbon. That's what we were there for. Okay, so we've got lots of stories for you today. I think really interesting ones that will have us sort of chewing the cud, disagreeing, agreeing, thinking about things, questioning ourselves and all that kind of stuff. Britney Spears' husband has, according to TMZ and all that sort of stuff, and all the kind of American news outlets, filed for divorce.
This makes me sad.
And the only, well, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. So we're talking about that. We're going to be talking about something we wanted to talk about yesterday, which is about the swimming coach in Doncaster who commented on a young girl's body and has been sacked for those comments. And we're also going to be talking about Bradley Cooper, who is starring in a new film called Maestro about the life of Leonard Bernstein, the composer, conductor, who has come under sort of varying sort of criticisms, but also support from the unlikeliest of places, which might shut up those criticisms, regarding his use of a prosthetic nose to perform as Leonard Bernstein. Obviously, an incredibly faint... And this is the thing that must drive everyone mad of any ethnicity. He was a fabulous composer and conductor first, who happened to be a famous Jewish composer and conductor first. So, do you know what I mean? But he is coming under fire for wearing and using a prosthetic nose. And I have some sort of skin in the game in this because I did a reaction to the trailer, and I had a very strong response to it. So get your thinking caps on there. Is he engaging in something called JewFace, which is like blackface and yellowface? So, shall we start with Britney? Should we talk about Britney?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say here. It's just, I just feel sad for her because whatever the reasons are, and of course we will never know, neither should we know, it's two people's, marriage. But I just worry about how she's going to be hounded. I mean, I saw today a news outlet, one of the papers saying, oh, there is a video of her. She was driving around LA without her ring. We will bring you this video. Keep checking in. And I just thought, I'm not going to keep checking in. I don't want to see a video of a load of paps following her, hounding her. Oh, this to me, it just makes me so sad because you can just see the way it's going to go, can't you?
Can Britney catch a break, Reese Roberts? Can I just ask a couple of things just for clarification? So Sam Asghari, who is her current husband, who allegedly, we don't know, it's not been confirmed, has filed for divorce. Two things that I've seen popping through the tabloids is, one, the suggestion that he thinks she may have had an affair or a fling of some form. And the other one being, I saw somewhere it being suggested that their rows had taken sort of like escalated, or their arguments had escalated to a new level, which was making things unsustainable.
But again, by whom?
Again, who's reporting?
By whom?
Is he a goodie? Is he? I mean, as everything we know about him, is he sort of been nice to her?
We just haven't got a clue. I just feel so sorry for her because I was so disgusted by the story of the conservatorship. I can never.
Well, they say he played a key role during it. Yeah, the fight against her father. Yeah,
and to me, it was the equivalent of Victorian mental institutions. Now, obviously, she has struggled with her mental health, and I found the way that she was treated absolutely petrifying. So, what is going to happen now? She's going to be hounded. She's going to be, they're going to be looking like for scraps of film, and it's just here we go. Here we go again. So, enough said, really. It's a sad story of a couple that I think in the real face of adversity, because the family didn't want him and everything, got together and got married, and it seems like...
Do you think beneath...
Part of me is hoping it's not true.
Yeah. I mean, neither party have commented publicly. Zoe Agnew, sorry, I've said this to you before. I've always felt something weird about her husband. Don't get good vibes. Worrying for
you've
Britney.
always said that. So.
I mean, does anyone else sometimes feel... I sometimes worry that the public narrative or the press narrative that seems to be developing around Britney is one in which there's almost a hope or a desire or a wish for the idea that she did need some kind of stewardship, not in some way. I feel like there's almost, how the media can just get a sort of bee in its bonnet and the agenda, a bit like the Meghan Markle thing. I mean, whatever happens, I think, to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, you're never going to be able to put a piece of paper between what's really happened to them and what's been amplified, agitated, made difficult for them. So if their relationship, as many reports keep suggesting, is in some kind of trouble or under duress, it's hardly surprising. And then the coverage itself makes the reality happen that the press wants to happen or wants to have been there in the first place. And I sometimes worry that that's what's happening with Britney. Sarah Begley, I think they're almost going for the "I told you she was bonkers" narrative. Absolutely,
exactly. And I mean, the thing is, she has admitted that she's had trouble with her mental health before, but people get divorced all the time. You know what I mean? But it would be piled on big time.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, well, let's talk about Bradley Cooper, because I thought there's a really good comment that's just gone up, which I think is really important to read. Minky Moo. This is about... So again, just to remind you, this is a new film, Maestro, about the life, love, career, music, although I don't think it's not like crib to grave story. The composer, conductor, Leonard Bernstein. I was trying to remember the piece. Didn't he do Rhapsody in Blue? No, that was Gershwin, sorry. I think he conducted a performance of it though. Anyway, major figure in American music. And they've made a film, Maestro. Bradley Cooper's directed it. He's starring in it. Kerry Mulligan is playing his wife. And he's come under stick, principally actually from characters, people like Tracy Ann Oberman, who is a major British actress. I've worked with her in the past. She's a lovely woman, who has taken not insult, but is aggrieved at the idea that he has had to adopt what feels like an unnecessarily prosthetic nose to perform as Leonard Bernstein.
See, Heaney said he played the Elephant Man without any makeup.
Who?
Did he?
Did he? Who?
Bradley.
Did he? On stage. on stage. Oh, that's interesting. I think you're right. I think he did.
Oh.
Anyway, Minky Moo says, so the suggestion here is, in adopting a prosthetic nose to look more like Leonard Bernstein, and he does look like Leonard Bernstein, and Leonard Bernstein did have a nose like this. The suggestion is he perpetuating Jewish stereotypes? Is he partaking in JewFace? Is he, and he's not a Jewish actor either. Or is he simply trying to, through the use of makeup and prosthetics and what have you, get to a place of a more authentic performance and inhabitation, if he wants to inhabit the part of Leonard Bernstein more meaningfully? I'm going to give you my first response to the teaser was it got in the way for me, not because of the nose, and not because it did or didn't look like Leonard Bernstein or not, but because I knew it was Bradley Cooper. All I kept looking at was the fact that he had a prosthetic nose on.
Yeah.
And that I didn't want, because I'm a fan of Leonard Bernstein. I'm an enormous fan of Bradley Cooper. I also am not of that school that thinks that only a Jewish actor should play a Jewish character or a gay character. I don't feel that at all. What do you think, guys? What do you think? What do you think, Nat?
Well, it's not for me to say whether it's insulting or not, because I'm not Jewish.
Yeah.
But the fact, first of all, I am literally heartbroken if Bradley has, again, given an astonishing performance and directorship and is not going to be recognised for any of that because of this. Because I cannot believe that a man that, is as smart as he is and as heartfelt as he is would have in any way had bad intentions. And in fact, Bernstein's family...
It's Bernstein.
Bernstein,
No,
yes,
that's
family,
right. I keep getting it.
have said the same thing.
Yeah,
They said they would be devastated. They've released a statement saying that he had conferred with them all the way along, and that they're over the moon with the dedication, the extraordinary performance, and are 100% happy, aren't they?
Well, not only that, they go so far as to say it breaks our hearts to see any misrepresentations or misunderstandings of Bradley's efforts. It happens to be true that Leonard Bernstein, their father, had a nice big nose. Bradley chose to use makeup to amplify his resemblance, and we're perfectly fine with that. We're also certain that our dad would have been fine with it as well.
So can you be more offended than a family?
It's a good question.
For instance, right, my dad's an actor. I'm not in any way saying that we're of this level in any way, but say, for instance, like my dad is Arabic and he has a fine Arabic nose. And in fact, I have a medium Arabic nose. And all my life, people have said to me, and in fact, Dean has been the worst about, my nose. Do you not worry about your nose? And I love mine. And I love my dad's nose. And if my dad were to be played by somebody and they wanted, and they were really wanting to look like him, and they put on the traditional Arab nose, which is a hooked nose, let's face it, for a lot of Arabs, I personally wouldn't be insulted at all. And I'm just trying to work out how I would feel if somebody else was insulted for me. I worry that a great story about a great man who was a huge talent, and you know how things can get whipped up really quickly and easily on social media, and people won't watch the film. I worry that the distraction will be taken away from the story of a great man.
I think there's quite a few things working here. I think there's what's it called when white privilege. It's almost, I think there's an element to this of people who aren't Jewish. So like you rightly said, I'm not in a position to comment on whether this is offensive or not.
He's not Jewish.
My response to the teaser wasn't about whether, I know for a fact he's not perpetuating Jewish stereotypes. I know for a fact he's made this film with a tender intent and love and passion. His producers are Spielberg and Scorsese. Spielberg himself was going to direct this. He handed it to Bradley Cooper. There is no intent,
There's no
intent around
going
this.
on here.
What I would say though is there is a there's a technical aspect to it that gets in the way for me. It distracted
I don't think
me
he needed it.
from Bradley Cooper. And someone just mentioned there, and this has come up elsewhere, that Cillian Murphy obviously played Oppenheimer, Jewish astrophysicist, didn't use any kind of prosthetics because, well, essentially because he looked like him. They also say that, I think Tracy Ann Oberman says this, that Tom Conti played Einstein in that film. Didn't use any prosthetics, didn't need to. I would have bought into. I think I would have. Yeah, I'm going to read your comments. I would have more meaningfully bought into it and felt more comfortable with it if he hadn't got a prosthetic nose and I was just watching him perform. Sometimes it's a little bit like when great actors, try and do an accent and they haven't quite got it. It forever gets in the way of their performance.
I think this is what I think. I think we have to accept that many people are going to be offended by this and hurt by it. And it's a good conversation to have for future thoughts on this. But please, let's not make this such a massive thing. So overshadows
the film
and the man, Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah.
Because surely that's an incredible thing to hear this story of this genius guy. And I can just feel we're going to get into huge cancel culture and there's going to be no mind paid to the intention. What was the intention?
And don't forget, we've got Helen Mirren is playing Golda, I believe is the Israeli Prime Minister's name in a biopic of her life. But let me just read there's just a part of Tracy Ann. When I read Tracy Ann Oberman's critique, though, there is an element of the criticism that I agree with. And this is a sentence from Tracy Ann Oberman, obviously great actress. If Bradley Cooper greenlights your film to play because he was directed it, greenlights a film to play the Jewish composer Bernstein, and you want Bradley to play Bernstein over a Jewish A-lister actor who could equally play the role, Tracy Ann Oberman's argument is, let Bradley Cooper's acting be so magnificent and truthful that the character of Bernstein shines through what he already looks like. Now, the sensibility that she's got there is what I would, if I was on that set, I would have said, we don't need the nose for you to capture the truth of this man. Yeah. And my problem with it, and I think the danger with it, and why it might, I can see most people here, absolutely it's not a problem for, but I think where it might become a problem for some people is that on some level, it feels like, despite all the layers of what goes into a performance and interpreting a role and a life and presenting that life on screen, to come to something so simple that is so sort of in the way of everything and distracts from everything else, it could be seen as a bit of an oversight.
I think if he was playing a non-famous Jewish composer and he used a nose, then I would think, oh my God, that's complete JewFace. Right. What is he doing here? But because he's playing a real person, you can understand how he went for it. I think
Faith Goodman's right. Family are happy, that's most important. But unfortunately, I think Nadia's hit the nail on the head. In this cancel culture where everyone has to be on either that side of the road or that side of the road.
There's no discussion.
But like Bad Bod, I haven't seen your comments before, Bad Bod says, you'd have thought, and this is something, I know what you're saying here, you'd have thought the filmmakers, whether they should or shouldn't is a different thing, but you'd have thought the filmmakers would have had the foresight to see this controversy coming. We live in a world where proper representation is at the forefront.
And that's why I think this is a good discussion to have it, but let's have it, and then it's at the forefront, and then in future films, but let's not red meat it, tear at it like wolves and go on and on and on.
I think what's good is to have the conversation, hear the worries and concerns, and then
go, okay, I'd never thought of it like that. Because I'm not Jewish and I wouldn't. That's what we need.
And once again,
Always.
RJ Banana, the intent is not to cause the very thing. I mean, in a sense, you could almost argue, going back to Bad Bod's point, this thought will have so not been in their heads that it possibly didn't. Do you see what I mean? It didn't even come into this.
People are suggesting here that maybe the company wanted the controversy. I don't think so, because this is the sort of thing that kills a film.
It could,
now.
Yeah.
All those people, not just the stars, all the actors, the costume designers, the DOPs, the people raising the finance, the family.
Yeah, they're not
all of those people will be brokenhearted if people don't see this film because of this.
Yeah.
And
Rhys Roberts, most importantly, watch the film for yourself and then make your mind up. Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately for me, the teaser didn't really get me that excited, but I love Bradley.
Well, I was just lying in the bed listening to it, and it sounded so intense. The scene, I was like,
yeah. I mean, at one point, I've always thought. I don't know if you've seen what was that wonderful film that we saw where he plays he played Barbara Streisand's hairdresser. Do you remember? Oh God, what was it? What was the wonderful film?
Who played it?
Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
do you remember the comedy that we saw at the beginning? Oh, what's the name of the film? The one set in the 70s, the sort of romance and. Oh my God! Does anyone? Oh, you will.
They will.
Remember.
They'll know.
He was the manic hairdresser who was screaming into the boy's face. It was Philip Seymour Hoffman's son was in it. What was that bloody name of the film?
Oh, Licorice Pizza.
Well done. There you go. You see, Licorice Pizza. In that film, Licorice Pizza, I thought Bradley Cooper looked like what's his name, Barry Manilow. And in this, I thought he looked at one point. I thought the shot was so weird. And the thing about Barry Manilow,
you've interviewed Barry.
He was.
You loved him.
I will never hear a bad word said about Barry Manilow. He was absolute charm personified.
Yeah.
Gallows humour, warm, lovely, sensitive. I just loved him, absolutely loved him. And he would always joke about his nose.
Yeah, but was that because he'd been bullied about it, so he'd get in before other people could?
Love Licorice Pizza. But there was a moment where I just thought, my God, this doesn't look like Bradley. I'm just seeing Nina, you saying that. So
can you notice? Probably never noticed I have a fine Arab nose.
You've got a great Arab nose. I love your nose.
I
love your dad's nose as well.
My dad's nose is like this, literally. Yeah. My sister used to sit, Dina used to sit like this at dinner with her finger like that, trying to get him to have a straight nose.
Yeah. Can I just quickly, because people are saying how lovely Barry Manilow was. I interviewed him many years ago, about 20, 25 years ago. And we were sat in a really expensive hotel suite. We were the only people to get an interview with him. He was doing a great big gig. And in those days, when you ran in as a video journalist, you'd go in, you'd set up your camera, it's really hard. You had to do all the interactivity with huge celebrities. I did Diana Ross once, got my hand caught in a bra putting on a microphone. So embarrassing. So liaising with Barry Manilow, had all his team around him, pop up what's called a pag light on a stand, little light, pump a little bit of light into his face. Set up your camera. Once you've done all of that, you've been talking, you've got 5 minutes, talk through the interview, get ready to go. Did all of that. That light that you take in, though, is run by a battery. This is how technicalities can get in the way of everything. So we're doing the interview, and it's absolutely fantastic, but the battery starts to go on my pag light. And what happens with those lights is they think it was a good thing, but they don't just cut out like most kit. Yeah. It would sink. And so it would become like sunset. And Barry Manilow said, we started this interview in daylight, but now I feel like it's the golden hour. He said, can you see me? I can't see you. And I think he said, you can probably see my nose.
Oh my God, I love people like that.
He's so lovely. Anyway.
We're running out of time.
Swimming coach. Let's do that.
Well, and I wanted to do the other one.
Which one would you prefer to do?
Well, we need to do swimming coach because we went for this. Maybe I'll do the other one as a live on Coffee Moaning Instagram.
Good idea.
Which is the one about how you would feel if you were eating alone in a restaurant and a man paid for you, but told the waiter not to say who'd paid for you. So I'll have that discussion with you later on Coffee Moaning Instagram. No, but this is a swimming coach who said to a little girl, "It looks like you work out." Okay, she was uncomfortable with that. She told the school made a complaint, said it was wholly inappropriate, and he was sacked. And he believes that he's been unfairly dismissed. When I think of the swimming teachers I had at school, I never liked a single swimming teacher I ever had when I was at school. I really didn't. But you look like you've been working out. From a female perspective, is somebody commenting on the look of your body, not on the strength of your body. I think she was 11. Was she 11?
Yeah, it looks like primary. She was a primary school girl. It doesn't say the age. Can I just say,
made her feel uncomfortable. Yeah. Now, I think when I think back to when I first started feeling uncomfortable, right, as a young person. And I got boobs really early. I got my period really early. It was probably about 8 or 9 that I started to just my instinct go, I would never say anything to anyone about anything that was ever said to me because I thought, why am I feeling that weird feeling? That is something that we need to listen to, right? Our instinct is the most powerful thing that we have as human beings. But unless we teach, especially young girls, but everybody, to listen to that, and that's not to be dismissed, then we're missing a moment with them, because it can then go on and on. And then when I think through my life, all the situations I was in where I, oh my God, I'm not going to say anything about that. Oh God, well, I'm not going to say anything about that. Did that start right from that young age when I just felt something, didn't know what it was, but felt that something wasn't right and didn't say anything? So I can understand why some people will go, well, but she felt uncomfortable. He was just saying about her body. But if a child says they feel uncomfortable, I think you have to listen to it.
Do you think he should have been given a warning? Let me just throw a couple of things into this sort of, because I think it's interesting. At first, you just think, right, no. As a father, as a parent, you're like, no, you don't comment on how a girl looks physically at all at school.
That wasn't my very, very first thought. When I very, very first saw the headline, I thought, God, that seems a bit over the top.
What?
That they sacked him.
Yeah.
And then I stopped and I thought about it. And I went,
let's go back. But let's remember, they were essentially a sports teacher, a swimming teacher. It's a very different type of teaching, which is actually a form of teaching all based upon physicality and the body and strength and prowess. This is not, in no way is this seeking to justify this. This is always just trying to kind of find something. Because the judge says in this tribunal that perhaps this was too harsh a judgment, that, perhaps he should have been given a warning and then given a chance to kind of, correct their ways. I don't think by just saying this, it absolutely indicates he's predatory or anything necessarily. I mean, could he, given that there's a certain brash with every trainer I've had, lots of people in the sports physical body industry talk about the body in a very sort of throwaway fashion, actually in quite an unsexualized fashion. Of course, a lot don't, a lot do. But, yes, it was inappropriate to be said. Yes, it shouldn't happen with young children. But in saying it, does it necessarily mean that he was all the things that we could all quite quickly and easily think he might be?
Well, the thing is, if this was like his first time and he said it, I think like a really stern warning of never ever, commenting, probably would have been a choice as well. He said, I think, didn't he, that he hadn't broken any of the safeguarding. We have strict safeguarding policies in place, and these were followed.
This is Doncaster authorities said this.
So that means he hadn't.
Oh, so he had been. So he did know that the policies were there not to be broken, essentially. Because this is his bosses who fired him who said this. Yeah, and I mean, in a sense, although the judge says he could have been given a warning, he also did say that the comment demonstrates that he had been observing her physical appearance. Yeah, and in that context, however intended, the comment is inappropriate.
Exactly. So it has to be really, really strict. It has to be. Yeah. We complain when children go through stuff, and we have. So if they're safeguarding rules, that's part of their safeguarding rules. You do not comment on a child's physicality. Yeah. Then I'm afraid you're going to get sacked.
I think Naomi Proverb sums it up right though. Don't comment on a child's appearance. End of. I just think that's why I don't think you should.
Yeah. So the thing is, and it's such a grey area. That's why it's so difficult, isn't it, with sports people? That's why it has to be really strict, because that could be blurred lines. Oh well, I was just talking about the fact that muscles, and I'm a sports teacher, and all of this. So I think it was the right decision. I mean, of course, nobody in my life has ever said to me, "Oh, you look like you work out," because I never have looked like I've worked out. But when I've heard other people say it about girls or to girls, it's always suggestive. Yeah. It's a weird thing to say.
Someone did say if it was said to a boy, would it be different? It's interesting, because it would be seen as a kind of compliment. It would be it's interesting.
But that's where it gets so grey for boys, doesn't it? It's like, it's like if an older woman approaches a young boy who isn't ready for sex, it's all like, lucky you, So
it has to be a cast iron rule.
Has to be cast iron, boys and girls. No.
So we're going to have to sign off, because we've got to head off quickly. I just wanted to say that the man in Somerset accused of being the Gimp has been banned by court from two things. Yeah, so he's been banned from doing this, but I want to know, how on earth are they going to enact this? He's been banned from wearing a mask, fair enough, but also from wriggling on the floor. I wonder if that's ever happened before. You are banned. How do you ban someone from wriggling on the floor?
Just seen a bit of breaking news there. Education Secretary says nobody will look at your A-level grades in 10 years.
She didn't.
That's just popped up there.
She didn't say that. So, hang on.
Now.
Oh, no, that's not a comment from someone. It's a news flash. That's not
news flash.
Oh, you said someone just said.
No.
I thought you meant someone here. I'm just looking in our comments.
just up there.
Right.
A news flash has just said, Education Secretary has just said, nobody will look at your grades in 10 years. Now, we happen to believe that.
Hang on.
What?
The fact that she said that goes to the heart of the lunacy of everything.
And you say that after you've made them think
Jump
of
through
nothing else
hoops
but that
hoops.
for 7 years and then mark them down.
So the news is just coming through now that, two conflicting reports. One saying that it's A-level results worst in 4 years with top grades down and a massive scramble now for university clearing places. And then somewhere else, someone said, a headline said, highest rate of highest grade. So maybe there's more high grades, but also more losers. I don't know. Gonna have to dig into what that story is there. But
I tell you this, it's not 10 years, it's like in a minute, nobody will look at your grades. So, these poor kids are brought up to think that grade is everything and that they will fail in life if they don't get them. And I just think it's
if you attach such success and failure to something so simple and specific, life does become traumatic.
It does.
It's
and that's why we have year after year, we have the most unhappy children. This is Children's Society report. Year in year out, the most unhappy children in Europe because we test them to death, and then we have something like that said.
Michael Parkinson has just died. Sadly, the chat show host who was a mainstay of the 70s. So Michael Parkinson has just died. So I just wanted to quickly read before we do a happy birthday. Hannah Lieb shoots. After all the mental health struggles I went through, my GCSEs and A-levels, I find it an utter insult. Of course you do.
Of course.
Look, the BBC, finally, lots of news breaking at the moment. BBC coming through on Deadline. BBC are to air the Jimmy Savile drama. This is interesting. There's a lot of controversy around this. We will be watching it. We will be talking about it. It is a hot potato as to whether this should have been made at all. Anyway.
I don't think it should have done.
No. Okay, guys. So
who was the happy birthday?
Emma.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Emma. Happy birthday to you. And we will talk about Michael Parkinson tomorrow.
We will, because there are so many classic moments of interviews that he did with people. So guys, have a great day, and we will see you anon.